This is a harmonica lesson 7B today, and we'll be talking about swing rhythms. I have a few notes I want to mention before we get into this into the rhythms and into performing here. First, a few more notations I want to present. I know some of you may just not be that interested in reading music notation, and that's okay, but it's good to be familiar with it. So one of the things that you'll see sometimes in music, and we certainly use it, we may not always see it in writing, but we do use it, is the slurs, and the difference between a slur and a tie. Okay, so when two notes are tied together, it means they're the same note, and all that it means is you're going to hold the first note, you're going to hold that through to the note that it's tied to. So when you see the little tie on top, say you have a C note and it's tied to another C note, or you're just going to hold that C note for, if it's a quarter note tied to a eighth note, you're going to hold it for the 1.5 rhythm beats there. And so it's kind of similar to a half note or a whole note, except this is going to be held for whatever value. All those notes in that within that little tie that you see. We did use these before in one of the songs we did. I think it was for our 3/4 exercise, and we used them. And then a difference between that and a slur is when you have a whole series of different notes, and you'll have like this very similar little line over the notes that they want you to do the slurs with. So a slur will be a series of different notes, but played very smoothly. Played in not in a staccato, but a legato, which is very smooth, almost as though it's all one note, but you're playing a bunch of different notes. So if you're playing something with a slur, let's say you had two quarter notes together, they were slurred, you would just play the first quarter note and then hold it through the second. All right, instead of playing, you're just gonna go. And then this with the trill, but not the trill, with the tie. I mean, with the slur, you're gonna do something more like. All right, and all those notes kind of played smoothly, like something of that kind of sort. Or you could just go back and forth on a bend or something. Some of that kind. So the main difference is a tie is going to be the same note, and it's going to be doing the same notes. They might be different values. One might be a quarter note or an eighth note, but if it's a C note, it's going to stay a C note through the tie. Whereas a slur may have a whole bunch of notes in there that they want you to play. But it's going to be played very smoothly, as opposed to a staccato, which is very sharp. If you want to get a good example of a good staccato, you can listen to Bob O'Reilly and the little keyboard part on that. It's very staccato. It's that really sharp. So instead of, it's very sharp, kind of a sharp, quick flash of air on a staccato, as opposed to the other. So that's the difference. And so, so that's the difference between a slur. They look very similar, and that's why I pointed out. If you do happen to look at music, and you may never look at a piece of sheet music, but if you do, you might notice those things. The other difference is we kind of talked about way back. We talked about the difference between a vibrato and a tremolo, right? And so you have a vibrato. You do something. You use the same note. You give that kind of warble to it. Or you can do like something with your hand. So you're hitting it very quickly, doing a series of notes very quickly, but it's the same note. and that's on a vibrato. Now on a tremolo, you're gonna go back and forth between two notes. And I just found out today, because a lot of harmonica players, they really, even the really professional ones, get real confused between a trill and a what was I saying, a tremolo. Okay, and they're very similar, but they're not really quite the same. So a trill is when you play two notes real fast, but the notes are within a tone of each other. So if you're playing a C note, you go back and forth maybe between a C and a D, or a C and a C sharp, but you wouldn't go beyond that on a trill. A trill stays within those two, within a tone of the note. So C, a tone, the half tone would be, or semitone, excuse me, would be like C sharp, and then a full tone would be D. So you're just going up in half steps or semitones, so that a full tone would be one note up, the next one in the scale from a C to a D. So here's a C, a semitone, C sharp, and a full tone is your D. And so tremolo is going to be within those notes, and whereas not vibrato, but what would I just say? Tremolo can be any two notes, but they're usually farther apart on that scale. So if you're playing in a harmonica, the only time you would really be playing a trill is if you were like maybe doing a blow draw kind of thing like that, or if you're doing like a bend, that could be that right there is a trill, because there's only a tone or a semitone between those two notes. But if I go back and forth between, say, the 4 and the 5 hole on a draw, okay, technically that's a tremolo, because I'm playing a D and I'm playing an F back and forth, and those are two full tones. That's more than one tone. So because you're going to C, D. Actually, I think that's C and an F. Or no, I'm sorry, a D and an F. D and an F. So there's two tones there, D, E, and F. So that would be a tremolo. It really doesn't matter that much, honestly. Harmonica players tend to use them interchangeably anyway, and they get them confused all the time. I was just doing a lesson. I was showing an example of a trill between that D draw, the D draw and the F draw, and technically that would be a tremolo, but they were calling it a trill. So, and I've seen it the opposite. So anyway, not that important, but just so you know. And then the other note I want to show you is a dotted note. So when you have a dotted note, let's say you have a quarter note with a dot after it, that means you're going to hold that for its value plus half. So you're going to hold it for the 1, and it'd be the equivalent of holding for a quarter note and an eighth note. So remember, if we count an eighth note as 1 and, you're going to hold that note for 1 and. So it'll be like, so if let's say we have a dotted quarter note followed by a quarter note, it'd be something like this. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. All right. And we're holding that 1 and. We're not playing it individually, we're holding it. So that's what it means that if you have a dotted note, if it's a quarter note, if it's an eighth note, you're going to hold it for the equivalent of an eighth note and a 16th note. So it's just, but you're going to hold it for its own value plus half. That's all a dotted note means. If you look at I'm going to put some different versions of how a swing rhythm might be written, and I'm going to put it up there, and you'll see the different kind of ways that are written, and you'll notice that one way to do it is using a dotted eighth note. A dotted eighth, there'll be a quarter note for the 1, a eighth note, dotted eighth note, which means you're going to hold it for the equivalent of an and, or 1 and then you're going to have your 16th note. right before your next quarter note, your 3. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That's how it'll be counted. 1, 2, 3. Because remember, it's an eighth note, and an eighth note is held for the, it's counted and so 1, 2. So anyway, that's one way it's going to be written. They could use a dotted quarter note. Normally, you'll see it written in those the most common way to see a swing rhythm written, though, is very similar to a shuffle rhythm, where you see like a quarter note followed by a partial I'm having a brain bubble here. A partial triplet, right? So that's a little 3 above it with a little symbol. That means it's based on a triplet feel, triplet rhythm. So then you'll have a quarter note followed by the triplet, followed by a quarter note followed by a triplet, and that means there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, ta, zip, ta, ta, zip, ta, ta, zip, ta, ta. And so there's a few other ways you might see a swing rhythm written, but they sound very similar, the same kind of feel. And then you'll see also on there the shuffle rhythm as well, and different ways of writing it. There's also, if you look above the last two exercises there, you'll see I don't call them exercises, but 2 examples there, in the last measures there. You'll see a little symbol on the left, and it will show a two eighth notes equals, and then there'll be a triplet sign with a quarter note and an eighth note with a little triplet sign above it, and that means that the song is going to have a triplet feel. So when you see 2 eighth notes together, you're not really counting them as one and, you're counting more like 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, same idea as when we wrote the triplet in, or when we even use that dotted eighth note there, followed by the 16th note to get that same ta, zip, ta, ta, zip, ta, ta, right? Rhythm kind of we went for that swing. So those are just different ways of saying a swing beat. And then I also included the shuffle rhythm. I probably should have put the shuffle first, because the swing rhythm is really based on the shuffle rhythm. They're very similar. They both, again, use that triplet fill with the little rest between the two triplets. So instead of 1 triplet, it's kind of 1 lit, 2 lit. You don't do the triple part. There's a rest there. So anyway, I kind of showed that on the drums as well when we did the lesson on the drums. So that's just a few of those little extra things to think about. So right now, I want to start the swing exercise in C. And so for a swing exercise, I'm going to put the music up there. You'll see the swing exercise in C. And we have, as you can see, that little triplet sign there on some of those measures, and that's going to have that same 1 feel. Instead of 1 and 2 and we did with the rock rhythm, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and this is going to be more of a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4 feel to it. So the way we're kind of doing this one is da da. So it's like kind of like it 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 and 2, 3, 1, 2 and 2, 3, 1, 2 and 2, 3, 1 a da. 2, 3, 1, 2 2, 3, 1, 2 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Never mind. I'm not gonna try to count this. These triplets are just too complicated to try to count. If you want to try it, though, I did put the counting in there, and you're welcome to do it. But I think what I'm going to do is just play it. Okay, so we'll try it kind of slow and listen to the melody. And the part that's going to be the trickiest for you on here is probably going to be those A draws. A draws are even kind of hard for me to get those draws right, because it's so high. on the harmonica. And really this exercise would be better if you heard the way I was playing it in the intro here. I played it with using a lower octave, and I was putting bends in there. You can probably hear the bending that I was using. So I was able to do that, but because we haven't done the bending yet, we have to use this higher octave, and it is a little more tricky on the draws when you get to that 8 hole. But we'll go through it anyway, and here we go. We'll start on our 7 belows, and it's going to sound kind of like this. There we go. You hear that squeaking? That's that 8. That's that old 8 draw there. But I'll go through it again slow for you with start with a 7 blow. Okay, that's how it sounds. We'll do it slow one more time. So in that 7 blow. See if we can do with some music. Turn the music down a little bit for this. Maybe I'll slow it down just a little bit to begin with. This isn't going to be too slow. We'll see. I'll put it about 120 and see how that works for us. So let's try this out. The intro, you can do some chords if you want to again. Ready? You could actually do a little on the very end if you want to do one of those, either a vibrato or a tremolo there to kind of get a little, nice little ending. Maybe go on your 4 or 5 draw there, something like that. Just back and forth, put your 4 or 5 draw real quick to end the song. Okay, let's go through it one more time at this speed. Okay, do you want to actually try this a little bit faster? I want to pick up the pace. I'm going to put it at about 150, so it's going to be kind of fast. So don't worry if it takes you a while to get fast, especially with that darn 8 draw, right? But here we go. Okay, so there's your swing exercise. And next time we will do a shuffle rhythm. And it's still going to be to a kind of jazzy beat. Maybe later after we get our bends in, we'll try some shuffles from a blues, more of a blues standpoint. So anyway, we'll go ahead and go out with the swing exercise and see one more time at the speed. And then what maybe I'll do is go ahead and, like last time, play the backing track. So we'll do it once again with the harmonica, and then I'll try it without the harmonica. And we can maybe go back to this one later when you get the bends, and you can do it in a lower octave, like I was doing it at the beginning. And you'll find it actually, even though I'm doing a little more fancy bending and stuff in there, but and once you learn that, you're going to find that's actually easier, at least for me, than trying to get these high notes, because I'm used to playing blues and in blues and that kind of stuff. You don't play as many of those, really high octave stuff like that. But anyway, here we go. Once with harmonica and once without. Here it is with just the backing track. Okay, get ready? Go! Alright, we will see you next time. We will do our lesson 7C, and that will be our shuffle rhythms. So we will see you then.